But all right, I got the track list here, and I'm putting it up on the screen. Still smoking, gun smoke, coming back. We're gonna look at the features on here, right? We got October London, Nefertiti Yvonne. We got Nas. We got Emo Trap, Ti, Sleepy Brown, Nate Dogg, The Game, The Baby, Uncle Murder, Hey Dion, Jane Hancock, Wiz Khalifa, Lil Duval, October London again, and October London closing it out. What did you think about this album?
Jane Hancock was on the Algorithm album. That was one of those talented artists that I was talking about, this bubbling that we need to be checking for.
Yeah.
Game snapped on here. That record's dope. I don't know how else to put it.
Not a lot of people feature Game on stuff. So it's always dope to hear Game, you know what I'm saying, on somebody else's stuff. He was on Russ's album and he did his thing on there too.
West. Snoop gonna pull him out.
Yeah.
He gonna show Game some love because he knows what Game did for his coast. And I say his coast because Snoop's the biggest artist that ever came out of this coast, because Snoop's the biggest artist in the history of rap, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or Kanye. We can argue.
Yeah.
So conflicted with Nas. Here's the bag that Nas is in. Nas apparently is doing hooks for Snoop Dogg now. He doesn't need to rhyme anymore to make an impact, Mike. How about that
Yeah, I
bag?
caught that too. Yeah, it's kind of disappointing not to get a verse from Nas, but whatever.
No, the hook is pretty dope. That's what I mean. It's always like, oh, you showing up and singing hooks and shit now? It's like, oh, your hook game like that now? When has somebody called Nas for a hook ever in life, Mike? That's the type of zone.
I'm trying to think about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Niggas don't call Nas for hooks. That's the type of zone he's in. Snoop's like, yeah, I let Nas do my hooks.
You know what? Should we? Let's talk about the album. Then we'll talk about the acquisition of Death Row and all that stuff. What that means. I don't know if maybe we should start with that and then lead into the album. But let's talk about the album first.
Love the intro, Mike.
I love it too.
That's my okay. So on a personal level, Mike, the intro to The Chronic is my favorite rap intro of all time because I've never heard anything like it before it or since. So the fact that he actually rhymed over the beat that he talked shit on originally, and it's just that full circleness of like, yo, this fool on Death Row Records now. And it's like, well, he kind of should, because Death Row Records kind of exist mostly because of his hit-making ability.
His pen had a lot to do with it.
His pen is the reason that Death Row exists more than anything else. And that includes Dr. Dre's beats, because Dr. Dre had MCs, but he didn't have Snoop. And when he got Snoop, that shit changed.
Well, you know, again, you know what I feel about Dre. I think Dre is the most important piece on the hip hop board.
That's fine.
But he's definitely, he made Death Row. Like Death Row he's Michael Jordan on Death Row.
Well, I'm about to say, what is Death Row without The Chronic and Doggy Style, and who's the main author of those albums?
Oh, now, right. I agree with you. But see, the thing is, when Dr.
Dre got DJ Quick to produce some of that shit too, Mike. That's the flip side people don't talk about. Yo, Quick could have came in and produced some of that shit. It would have played very, very well. Snoop would have had a nice career.
I'm going to take this back. Dr. Dre is LeBron James. Dr. Dre gets on your team, championship.
Immediate contender for
he leaves the team, it's a disarray.
Lottery. Yep.
It's amazing. And we've seen him do that. I mean, NWA was even able to make niggas for life after Ice Cube. The legendary Ice Cube left their group, and they were still able to make a dope album. Dre leaves, it's it.
Snoop Dogg's kind of like Larry Bird from like 84 to 87. That's really who Snoop is. Like in them early like Death Row days, it's like, no, about 3 straight MVPs and then not the same, but still that dude. Yeah.
You know, and this is not a slight to anybody because I think Chris Bosh is the first ballot Hall of Fame in my personal opinion.
He is.
I think that
easily
when Dre left, Snoop was looking a little bit more like Wade and Bosh or Bosh when LeBron left and went back to Cleveland. And he went and got Aftermath is looking like the new Cleveland. You know what I'm saying?
I never liked how people talked about Wade and Bosh like that team wasn't viable because had Bosh stayed healthy actually that year, I think they would have at least made the conference finals and were a game away from making the conference finals, which means they would have been playing you know who. And I trust Wade more than I trust you know who to make a game-winning shot, and that's big money time. So anything could have happened. So they were one injury away from like for me being back in the finals again. potentially. So
Definitely. I mean, that's a fair assessment,
I'm
but
taking.
it's just the optics of it, right?
No, no,
It's
no,
the,
I get it. But if we get into
yeah.
Game 6 and Game 7, and you're taking LeBron, and I got Wade, I don't care if Wade's knees work or not. That jump shot works when the money's on the line, and the way LeBron shit ain't never really worked. So
Harry H says, unpopular opinion, but I am completely content with Nas's contribution to the song Conflicted. Yeah, I mean, I didn't walk away like, dang, I didn't get a Nas verse. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a dope contribution. I didn't feel like I needed a verse because his hook contribution was dope.
I think the only thing is the way they hyped it up, like we were gonna get a Nas verse, and we did.
Right. No, and the way it starts off, you almost don't think that that's Nas doing a hook. You think that's a back and forth about to take place. So there's a little trickery going on. They tricked you a little bit. You got you good.
They definitely tricked us.
Because when Nas comes in with the hook and then Snoop picks it up, I'm like, are they about to do a back and forth? And then I was like, got your ass. So, Mike, crypto enthusiasm is like just.
It's Snoop having fun, man. And I'm a big Kirby Enthusiasm fan. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not, but Mike, when the beat came on, I was like, I want to hear him pull this off. And I'm like, oh shit, he's pulling it off. Like, yeah.
And that's when I said to myself, I can't make excuses for Kendrick not dropping any music.
Right.
Like, just have some fun, man.
Like, we're on the same page because that for me is where the album changed, where the tone changed. And I'm like, man, this dude's having fun and succeeding and not even trying. And meanwhile, the guy that's supposed to have the reins from the same coast, we can't even get a record out of, let alone fun records, let alone dope records.
Which one was the roller skating joint? Was that Coming Back?
I don't know, Mike, because
Coming Back was a vibe, man.
Hold on, which one was that? Yes, Coming Back, track 3. Yeah. House I Built.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Catch a Vibe. Yeah.
Well, this is what I got from the album. You know, I was telling you offline. I feel like
Doggy Style.
What's that?
The track Doggy Style, track 7.
Yeah.
Listen,
I love the fact that Snoop embraces his legacy, and you know there are a lot of artists who have made classic material who don't do that as much. I mean, I don't feel like Lauren does that a lot. She's been doing that more of late. You know what I'm saying, with the Fugees material. I definitely don't think Andre 3000 does that when it comes to the Outkast catalog. And it's good to see people like Snoop being able to move forward, but still honor, you know what I'm saying, the impact of what Doggy Style means and kind of make extensions of that. I mean, I always felt he's like the George Clinton or Bootsy Collins of hip hop, man. And those guys have always embraced their impact and what they did in their prime and were able to keep it going because of that. And I think that's cool. Like, it's nothing serious. It's just music.
You've said that multiple times. I don't know if anybody has embraced the greatness of their seminal pieces of work the way Snoop has and made it work for them. Mm-hmm. Like Doggy Style and The Chronic have not haunted him the way like Illmatic has haunted Nas, or even Reasonable Doubt with Jay Until the Blueprint. Or
he faces it head on.
Right, because there's an embrace that comes with it. But here's part of it too, Mike, and this is what I mean. Well, it's easy for Snoop to do it and have fun with it. And this is what I keep on telling people. You almost forget Snoop's a gangster on Doggy Style. The shit's so fun. He's been pulling this off for a minute. He's
a star, man. He'll go out there with the Doggy Style jackets and all that stuff. He embraces it, man.
He's hip hop's first
megastar.
Doggy Style is the first rap album to ever go #1 on the Billboard charts, Mike. He's our first rock star. Like they're everybody else is hood legends and icons before Snoop. Snoop's the first guy. It's like, nah. Like it's like when Mike came with the Air Jordans damn near. Like, that's kind of who he is to this shit. It's like shit wasn't the same after Snoop came. Like,
I mean, he literally became a household name, damn near. Right. I don't want to say overnight, but in a very short period of time.
Like, how about this? It mattered if you became a household name after Snoop. It mattered if you had star power and charisma after Snoop. It mattered if your records were banging enough for white people to listen to them or for crossover records to be played, even though keeping your integrity. All that Snoop, Mike. Before that, it's kind of cultish. Like, our icons are cult icons before Snoop. People need to understand that. Everybody don't know them. Like, I want people to understand, everybody don't even know LL Cool J in 1995 when he come back out with Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith did a whole lot for his crossover appeal. He didn't have records like that was crossing over, Mike.
We did a post on According to Hip Hop, because we have a diverse amount of fans on our Facebook page. And it was like a picture of like 9 MCs. And I want to say Rakim was in there, Nas J, and, all the way up to Drake Cole and all that stuff. And I think Kendrick was in there. Anyway, it was like one has to go. And there was a lot of young there was a lot of young people who were saying, yeah, Rakim has to go because I've never heard any of his songs.
Oh, is that what? Did they say that on our page?
On the Facebook page. I mean, but that's a real thing because, like you said, there's not a lot of people who have not heard of who Snoop Dogg is. Whereas some of our legends, previously, like you said, more so cultish, like cult icons.
Hey, can I tell you something? So about that is why I talk about Cool G Rap so much, Mike, because he's the most cultish of all those icons from that era. All those other guys are even more well-known than him. That's why I reference him so much, because he's the cult icon from that era that gets overlooked the most. And so we need to make it a point to incorporate his name subtly more so that he gains some more of the cultish status that even his peers have, a la Rakim, KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane, Slick Rick, LL Cool J.
Man Nan says that I've been listening to Snoop since I was a kid. He reached the Caribbean. He said that Snoop is musically diverse. Jay Short says my grandma even knows who Snoop is. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of people in the world who don't know who Snoop Dogg is.
He's the first guy like that, Mike. They didn't know us before then. Like when
Run DMC? Because some people are bringing up Run DMC.
No, it's not. No, Mike, it's not the same.
But see, as a group, though, you know what I mean? And so they know those two as a collective. It's different when you're an individual star. And so I would say LL Cool J, but
I get what they're saying because Run DMC had people dressing like them.
But they were a group. It's the difference between the Beatles and Michael Jackson.
Right.
It's one person.
So I started another podcast, Mike, that I'm doing with my co-editor of my high school yearbook, who happens to be a good friend of mine, and he's white. Well, part of what we're doing, we've only done 3 episodes so far. People can check it out. Like, I'll shoot a link in the thread or something. But part of what we're doing is we're comparing and contrasting his genre and our genre. And it's funny, the Beatles song Let It Be came up the other day, and immediately, Mike, when we got to us, in terms of in the hip-hop sphere, or just in the black sphere, the only thing that he had to reference from the Beatles was he went to Michael Jackson and Thriller immediately. So Snoop in hip-hop is that effect in terms of like the numbers and the music and the mania all being there. Like, people need to understand this, like Paid in Full by Rakim, Illmatic by Nas. No. Probably better records. But
someone's bringing up something really important in the chat. Shaka Ra Speak says, y'all are forgetting about MC Hammer. I think that's a valid point. MC Hammer had a cartoon. MC Hammer's a household. And even to this day, it's not many people that you can name, that you can talk to who don't know who MC Hammer is and never heard of MC Hammer. But Hammer dances. It's a little different.
No.
I think he was viewed as more of an entertainer.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. So if you want to talk about what he accomplished, then yes, but let's talk about why he accomplished it. Are we talking about him as an MC? Are we talking about an entertainer who used to have a 30, 40, 50-piece band that dilapidated his funds and left him broke about that show? You get what I'm saying? So
I wouldn't say bro.
I mean, he filed for bankruptcy before, so let's just say dilapidated.
Yeah.
But and he spoke to the dilapidation of the income, keeping up the 30, 40, 50 bandman sets. That's why I'm bringing it up, because he's speaking to that. Oh, Snoop selling $5 million just rapping off of Dr. Dre beats. That's different. That's what I'm saying. He's our first star. Like, Hammer really didn't. He belongs to this culture. He belongs to the Bay, and he belongs to us. But how he did it is not unique to the craft of emceeing. He's rap's first big superstar, as in the guy with credibility, where it's like, no, we co-signing that guy too, even though he's selling all these records. Mike, he's going out to the Billboard Music Awards performing Murder Was the Case. Hammer wasn't doing no shit like that. Was Hammer pulling up in a wheelchair in a 6'4"? Because that's, you get
Well,
what I'm
Hammer
saying?
was performing everywhere. I get what you're saying, but it's for different
That's
reasons, right?
different.
I
It's
think
different.
that
Different in
when
terms of
Hammer
how
hit the
folks are gonna
stage,
convert.
when Hammer hit the stage, we expected him to entertain like on a physical level and you know, I remember growing up, they would compare like who's the best dancer out there, Michael Jackson or Hammer, and like that was like a real conversation. Bobby Brown was in that conversation too, but Hammer was getting compared to people like Michael and James on an entertainment level. You know what I'm
Trent,
saying? So it wasn't like he was, you know, being compared to LL Cool J or Run DMC on a rap level. So it's a little different, but yes, I guess technically he would be the first household name in that way.
how
But
about this? This is
Snoop
what
did
I'm trying to
it
say.
from, like you said, just rhyming over Dr. Dre beats.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm trying to say. When Snoop's dropping and getting all this notoriety, they're comparing his flow to Rakim's. That's what I'm talking about, the credibility. It's like, no, this guy is making these hit records, and yeah, he's big. But flow and delivery wise, he might be the best guy we've heard since Rakim. That's why I said he's our first real big superstar, as in like he belonged to this community and only this community. The MC community. He's getting compared to Rakim when Doggy Style's coming out about his flow, about his delivery. That's totally different than what Hammer's doing, because what Hammer's doing doesn't totally belong to the culture of hip hop. He's in the sphere, and I'm gonna say this again. Listen to what I'm saying. Snoop Dogg's the first rapper to go #1 on Billboard charts for a rap album, not Hammer. Even
Well,
though Hammer was here first, so Doggy Style was still bigger than anything that Hammer ever dropped in this community and on Billboard.
my man Mo Better, man, he described Hammer as like the last old school rapper stylistically to make it.
Very.
And if you listen to him stylistically, he does have the
Yes.
Run DMC, you know, I don't want to just throw people's names in there, but he had like that Houdini type of flow going on. Yeah. And honestly, his actual dance ability, his incredible dance ability, carried him over the top. It wasn't
So,
the rap skills that did it.
ooh, I'm about
Not
to
to
date.
say he was a whack rapper on any level. I think
He
that
wasn't like-
his style was just, you know what I'm saying, like the styles had changed. So when Rakim and KRS came, that whole way of rapping was dead.
There it is, Mike. I remember the first time, and I'm slightly older than you. Here's where I'm going to show my age right quick, Mike. Do you remember when Hammer came out to the video for "Let's Get This Party Started"? Do you remember that video?
That video was hard. That's actually my favorite Hammer song.
No. Do you remember when the video dropped, Mike?
Yeah, I remember.
Mike,
I was in elementary school.
I'm about to say, Mike, I'm still in elementary school.
Yeah.
What's the draw and the appeal to that
The
video?
dance. Yeah.
Mike, when you hear Snoop Dogg on Deep Cover for the first time, what's the draw?
The raps. The beat too, but yeah.
Mike, when you hear Snoop Dogg on Dre Day, on The Hook to Let Me Ride, on Nothing But a G Thing, what's the draw?
Yeah.
When you hear What's My Name in Gin and Juice, and Murder Was the Case, and The Shiznit, what's the draw?
Snoop is. As an
He's
MC.
our first big superstar has an MC. Right there. There it is. He's the first guy to make those. Mike, he got famous for making a record that's talking about murdering the police.
That's crazy, right? It's a soundtrack, so it works, but yeah.
Right, but all I am saying is that his fame is built on some real hip hop street shit. Hammer shit was never built off of that. We were showing up to hear Snoop rhyme.
Well, I think dancing is a part of hip hop too, but I get you.
It is. I'm talking about, that's why I said the first rap superstar.
I got you. Ray Reynolds with another super chat. He says, since the beginning of time, name 2 more black musicians more famous than Snoop, Michael Jackson, and Prince. Are 1 and 2. Michael Jackson and Prince are 1 and 2. Yeah, it's not many. I mean, I guess you could say Kanye West, right?
Kanye, Stevie Wonder, Bob Marley. Shoot, Mike.
Got another super chat here from Antonio. We got, he says, salute, gentlemen. I appreciate the knowledge you guys display. And y'all know who the GOATs is, unlike the mainstream media that is bought and paid for. Yeah, they tell them who the GOATs are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Snoop is. I would say
say
Snoop and Kanye are probably the most famous rappers ever.
no. We got to put Tupac up there.
Tupac's there too. I was about to say that. I was about to say
Eminem.
Tupac, Eminem.
But Eminem.
Where does Dr. Dre fall in this? Because I don't think Dr. Dre is a slouch either. There's not a person that doesn't know who Dr. Dre is. Dr. Dre is Quincy Jones here, right?
There are a lot of people who know who Snoop Dogg is, who don't know who Dr. Dre is, the same way there are a lot of people who know who Michael Jackson is, who don't know who Quincy Jones is.
Okay. That's fair.
Same thing. But for us, so iconic and legendary that it's like we be looking like, no, that's not true. And it's like, yeah, it is. Just in our sphere, we don't play that. But in other spheres, it's like that happens because they're not the front men. They're the band man. They're the producer.
You know what's interesting about Snoop, though? He's been able to stay around, stay active, and again, he doesn't fall into this whole Kendrick Lamar thing where it's like, I'm Snoop Dogg, so everything I make has to be epic, so you're not going to get this. Like, Snoop has a whole bunch of albums. He comes out all the time. Like, for whatever reason, he's been able to have fun and embrace this fame and not let it get to a pressure point for him. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people who get this famous, and we even see it with Kanye West, it's pressure. It's a lot of things that, run you wild, but for whatever reason, for Snoop, I don't know if it's the marijuana, but he doesn't let any of that get to him.
No, Mike, it's not that. I'm going to tell you very, very quite simply what it is. It's the same thing that I've been saying. Well, the first 2 times we heard him, he's the author of 2 of the 10 greatest rap albums of all time, and nobody else can say that. Pressure's over.
Yeah.
There ain't no pressure after you, the author of The Chronic and Doggy Style. What type of pressure are you under? You just made 2 of the 10 best. You're the author of 2 of the 10 best rap albums that ever existed. You're not under any pressure. Nobody else can say that. You gotta say that clearly.
I think for people who weren't around at the time, it's hard for them to fathom. But Snoop was bigger than Tupac and Biggie
combined.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
And so, like you said, the pressure's gone. Like these guys, yeah.
Hold on. If you take Tupac and Biggie's album sales in 1994, they almost are close to what Snoop sold by himself the year before. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and put them numbers together. If you go look at the calendar years, because if I'm not mistaken, Me Against the World's like 3 million. Ready to Die is 1.5. What is Doggy Style his first year? 5.
Well deserved too. And that's not even counting The Chronic.
He's the author of the 2 of the 10 greatest rap albums of all time. He's the only person that can lay clear claim to that.
Unknown what the super chat says that Snoop had a gospel album before Donda. These are facts.
These are facts. It Was Written is not a top 10 rap album, Mike. Blueprint's not a top 10 rap album, Mike.
It's very hard to top Doggy Style.
The only person that's even in the conversation is Big with Ready to Die and Life After Death. Nobody else is even in that discussion.
And Snoop's been famous for a very long time.
Since 1991.
Yeah, 30 years in. We got to give him credit, man.
All the time, it's like, oh, you don't feel Snoop. It's like, no, I don't. You weren't there. You remember that?
Yeah.
Because nobody ever had it like that, Mike. Like his peak. So when I think about peaks, I think about Rakim's peak, which is like the first real peak that I think is identifiable.
Mm-hmm.
And the next real peak is actually Snoop.